Morning, everyone. Welcome to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community Oceania Hundoke with Reverend Yutaka Yamada on this day, Saturday, 13th of March, which is also the 1st of February in the 9th year of Chongyal Guk. So let's begin by offering a bow to our Heavenly Parent and true parents. Chariot, Kyumbe. Pado. And let's recite our family page both in Korean and English. Thank you.
가전맨세 6. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님의 대신 가정으로서 전을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 6. Our family, the owner of Chongyal Guk, pledges to become a family that moves heavenly fortune by embodying the Heavenly Parent and true parents, and to perfect a family that conveys heaven's blessing to our community by centering on true love. And I'd like to ask Na if she would offer the opening prayer, please.
Okay, let's bow and pray. Our dearest Heavenly Parents, true parents of heaven and earth and humankind, our beloved Lord Jesus, thank you for each morning we can greet you and invite you into our lives, in our midst, in our hundokes and gatherings and our blessed families. Father, we gather with the leadership of Reverend Yutaka couple and all the national leaders in Oceania, praying for a way forward to really find a way to be the unifying point for the world, to understand what true parents have meant about Oceania as a starting point of a unified world. I pray we can find that and become that point. Thank you for the dedication of our brothers and sisters, and that we can really connect to the providence not only of Oceania, but also centering on our true mother, especially with the celebrations coming up, the blessing anniversary coming up in April, and the cosmic blessing, and also her trip to America. Mother is really working hard to establish all the to complete all the foundation that Father had established, to bring it to fruition. I pray, Father, we can have really meaningful and okay, and that you can speak through each and every one of us that will speak today, and also especially through Reverend Yutaka and Reverend John Adamise. I report this prayer in true parents' holy names, bless and true families. Aju.
Aju. Thank you. So welcome everyone. We have 40 people connected this morning at the moment. And so let's welcome Reverend Yutaka as he shares Hundok with us. Thank you.
Okay, good morning everyone. Thank you for our brothers and sisters to come this morning Fundoke and also morning devotion of Oceania, our all nation together. So today also we will begin the new day. How was yesterday? Do you have a good time? So how we will every day we will reflect ourselves and prepare for the new day. So this single moment is precious time. And now Trimada are really focusing how to restore the nation of Korean Peninsula, Tower 2022. So UPF side and also the Family Federation side and each organization side, they are preparing about Korean Peninsula and also Tower Heavenly Unified World. So all things is connected now. So when you pray, also please pray for Trimada and also the Korean Peninsula, how we can support and also cooperate and fulfill this Korean Peninsula providence. Especially these days we are reading about the North Korean time, Trimada's early childhood time. We can see many kind of people in North Korea, and really God loved that land. God loved the people there, and they are still waiting the moment. So we really pray, and surely we will offer the heavenly unified Korea, unification between North and South Korea. So each our Chonsong is really important time, and how we can cooperate as the nation and also as the region of Oceania for this heavenly Korea and this heavenly world. So please also work together and do our best. So yesterday, we shared a message about the moving from North Korea to South Korea, and we could see many persons important decision. So single decision will change their life. Some grandfather decision, grandmother's decision, and also 태모님 decision and Trimada's decision. Each of their decision made the future and made this providence. And finally, they decided to move from North Korea to South Korea. During that period also, there are many kind of challenging or difficulty. They are captured by soldier, but finally, they came to South Korea. So let's see today the next story. Okay. Those South Korean soldiers told us that they had heard us as we approached and had been about to fire upon us. When they heard the voice of a child singing, they had lowered their weapons. They welcomed us and comforted us. One soldier said, "It must have been difficult for you to make it all the way here with a beautiful young child. This isn't much, but please take it." We were so grateful to this soldier whom God moved to give us money, enough to get us to Seoul. 38 parallel, that place is really the stressed place, and 10th place between North Korea and South Korea. This tense for North Korea soldiers and South Korean soldier. When the enemy will come, they never know. That kind of tense situation. But through mother was singing song, because of mother's song, they could avoid the difficulty or dangerous situation, even they could receive the money. So how heaven prepared. North Korean side also soldier anyway gave the way, and South Korean side also welcomed them and even gave the money to move to Seoul. So if each person fulfill their portion of responsibility, if each person did their best, already God prepared the people and God guide everything with the environment. So we can see when they move from north to south, always God stayed together with them and protect and guided them. Looking back, if I had not sung at that moment, those young soldiers probably would have mistaken us for North Korean soldiers and shot us dead. In this way, once again, God protected us. We arrived safely in South Korea after undergoing hardships such as these. Yet, in making that journey, we parted from my grandfather, whom we never saw again. So after moving from north and south, they could not meet grandfather anymore. So that meeting was the last moment. And Trimada is reminding that moment when Trimada moved and she sang a song. So that moment, she was just 5 years old girl, but she remembered that moment strongly. So each day, moving one day and one day, walking 200 kilometers from Anju to 38 parallel. Then after that, also 38 parallel to Seoul. Continuously have to walk, have to move that place. So how severe, how much difficult moment in each day for everyone, especially 5 years old girl, true mother. So true mother strongly remember that each moment memory that much. That moment was really strong. So when she sang a song, she could be released. So that moment, and finally arrived to South Korea. So departing from the own nation, this is also not easy things. And in that moment, if depart the nation, depart the homeland, hometown, and from that place, meaning is the eternal separation. When they left the nation, when they left the hometown, they could not meet anymore. That's that times people's serious situation, especially even now. The North Korea, we could not enter freely and could not see the people there. That's why that moment was how much serious. Now, actually, about technology, we can meet through internet and through cell phone and through anything in current situation, but still North Korea is under that kind of circumstances, so still we cannot see the people there. So that separation was a really sad moment. So today I want to show the video from north to south, how Trimada move. This short video, please see, please watch.
In 1948, determined to find her son, Sun Jong-hung, grandmother Won-mo Jo decided to head south with Mrs. Hung and the newborn baby. Instead of returning home, he was working at the Army headquarters in Seoul as a medical officer after he finished Waseda University in Japan. It was because he was disappointed by the corruptions of the North, which were different from what they promoted themselves to be. The way south was not easy. They were even captured by North Korean soldiers near the 38th parallel line. They were captured and imprisoned in the barn of an empty house. The soldiers intimidated them. Everyone was petrified with fear. How will they overcome this obstacle? The key to surviving the moment of life and death was love. She took the liberty to run errands of serving food to the soldiers. After being released, the crowd of people was forced back to the north, but they fled again to south with the help of a guide. As the North and South Korean armies were pointing guns at each other everywhere, their journey could not be delayed even for a moment. In the middle of a frightening night, a child's singing voice echoed, as the future Mrs. Moon sang. The soldiers tried to shoot the moving figures, but stopped when they heard someone singing. The group thanked God for protecting them.
Yes, thank you. So this is the part from north to south. So when they left from North Korean area, so that land was actually prepared by God, prepared by heavenly parents, and all people offered a Johnson to welcome a second coming and second advent and Jesus. That much they offered a life and their risk of their life and continuously waited that moment. But each central figure who are prepared or called by God, if they could not fulfill their responsibility, even the blessing itself was really good. But if they could not fulfill, then everything will be taken by Satan. So 1948, so that year, the father finally captured, and also he went to Korea. So 1945 to 1948, these 3 years are really struggling or severe battle, spiritual battle moment from God's side, from Satan's side, from North Korea and South Korea. Which part will take the providence? God's side will take the providence, or Satan's side will invade the providence? So these 3 years, kind of the conclusion or critical moment based on 2000 years of Christian history. That's why these 3 years, through Father also visited all the prepared holy spiritual Christianity group, and he met several central figures, and he really offered his life, and he went to prison, received many tortures, and almost he was going to be die. That kind of a serious situation. And through mother side and also holy group, they are really prepared to welcoming Messiah and second coming. Even Temonim received many kind of message through dream. And another spiritual group, they also receive many kind of revelation. They receive the revelation, the secret of heaven. Some Kim Son-do or those group receive the revelation. The human fall is not eating the fruit. This is the fall because of the sexual relationship. So all the spiritual group were really received the revelation and prepared a lot. But because they finally could not connect with the Father, the Messiah, and could not connect well everything with God's providence. So finally, the Father could not do anything. God's side also could not do everything. All foundation was destroyed, and finally he have to go down bottom of bottom from zero or from minus position, and finally he was captured. He went to Hunnam prison. So 1948, the providential direction was decided. That's why in the same time, government was also established. In that year, North Korean government was established and the South Korean government was established. So this moment became the starting point of the separation between North Korea and South Korea. So internally, if separate could not fulfill, those situation is coming out for the external result. So internally, all Christianity totally could not unite with true Father, second coming. That's why externally, this Korean peninsula itself was divided. So this actually land was most holy place, most prepared place for God, and final conclusion place to welcoming Messiah, welcoming second advent. But the result was going on to the different way. So their father go to Hunnam, their mother went to the South Korea, and the new providential stage was started from that time. Then they came to South Korea, and they are looking for the uncle. So let's see. South Korea was a strange place to us. Having never been to Seoul, we had no idea how we could survive, and we were getting lost constantly. We also had lost the molding of our faith. The hope to meet the returning Lord was indeed floating in the clouds. We had no money and no skills by which to make a living. We camped in a shabby, empty house and barely made it through each day. All we could do was talk to people. When they came to South Korea, there is no foundation, no people, no money, and no place to stay. After Japanese occupation, these Korean people was so much excited, and they also could get the freedom, and they have a hope, and they try to find the future. But in the same time, their life was not easy, and many people also poor, and there is nothing. So this hope and also suffering still mixing together in that moment. So when Chirmada came to South Korea, but in the beginning part, there are not enough food or enough place, so their suffering moment was continued even in the Seoul place. Our most urgent task was to find my maternal uncle Sunjong. He was the only person we could depend on in South Korea, and we were hoping he was somewhere in Seoul. My mother pleaded in prayer, "What should I do to find my younger brother?" She prayed most earnestly every day to find her brother on whom she could rely. We devoted ourselves to this search by visiting clinics and pharmacies. So that time even they came, but they could not meet yet about his Trumada's uncle and also Temonim's younger brother. So Temonim seriously pray how people can meet. In Seoul, maybe you have an experience, you visited to Seoul. Seoul is really crowded. Now a little bit different, but little bit before, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if you go to the market, if you go to the city, there are so many people and so much crowded place. Then how about 1948? After finishing the World War II, there is so many people are crowded, and that moment people doesn't have phone. There is no kind of cell phone, internet, and even local phone they don't have. That's why how they could meet. Their communication is only maybe send a letter or something. So suddenly all people gathered to Seoul from the old place of Korean Peninsula at that time. Then people is mixing, crowded, how they could meet. Trumada and the grandmother and Temonim, they are really serious, and they are only what they can do is to pray God, where, how we can meet our Sunjong. Please give me the way. Please guide us. So this is the serious times. So meeting people or meeting connection with others, this is not just happen by accidentally. Everything was guided by God and Heavenly Parents. So how they could meet the Uncle Sunjong. Then we received an unexpected blessing from God. We met a man on the street who turned out to be a friend of my uncle's. This was indeed God's providential help. His friend told us that Uncle Sunjong was serving at the army headquarters in Seoul's Yongsan district. After returning from Japan, he had graduated from the College of Pharmacy in Seoul and then received training as a pharmaceutical officer in the Korean Military Academy. He was currently serving as a first lieutenant. So after he graduated his school, now he was working in the military academy as the officer. So God always guided the people. So finally, they could meet the friend, friend of uncle, and they could see the way to meet the uncle Sunjun. But how they could meet this friend? You could see every day they went to outside and they met the people and asking and asking and asking. I don't know how many days or how many weeks or how many months. Continuously they are finding, they are asking where he is. Do you know this person or not? This kind of effort and Johnson itself also needed in order to meet the people. This kind man took us to Yongsan, and what a reunion it was. Sunjong was delighted to see his mother, sister, and niece. He had no idea of the condition in the north and was so distressed to hear of what we had gone through to get to Seoul. He immediately rented a small room for us in Hyeochang-dong. So finally, they could have a most delighted, beautiful, and joyful moment. And Uncle Sunjong prepared the house and food and everything. When they came from North Korea, when they left from their house, they didn't have anything. But when arrived here, God prepared everything for them. So finally, they could meet this prepared foundation. Our life in the Seoul soon stabilized. I entered Hyeocham Primary School and in the free land of South Korea, began going to school for the first time. I loved going to school with my bag of books every day. The older residents of the neighborhood would pat me on the head, and the neighborhood children also liked me very much. Looking back, I find it interesting that our rented room was close to Chompadong, the neighborhood in which 7 years later we would end our search for the Lord at the second advent. Until that day arrived, however, we endured many twists and turns on our Odyssey. So this finally, Trumada and grandmother and Temonim got the house and they started a new life. And Trumada also started to go to the school. So 5 years old, 6 years old. So we can imagine how Trumada was happy to bring the bag of books and visit to school, meet the friend, meet the neighbor. So when we read this point, really we could see how Trumada is enjoy and excited to have a new life. And she went to the Hyeochang Primary School. So Hyeochang-dong is actually almost the same place of Chompadong. Chompadong and Hyeochang-dong is almost a neighbor district. So from Chompadong Church, do you know Chompadong Church? Did you visit? Maybe we saw many times the photo when two parents had the holy wedding, 1960. So first, the main headquarter church is Chompadong Church. So Chompadong and Hyeochang-dong, I think almost 5 minutes or 10 minutes distance by walk, really close. So already that time, Trumada was living that place in Hyeochang-dong. So they could find future. After 7 years, they could find how close they are. So this is also sharing like this. While at Hyeochandong, we heard the news that Chong Suk-chong, the eldest son of the founder of the Holy Lord Church, had settled in South Korea. We took it as a miracle and prayed that God would guide us to meet him. All in all, we praised God that my uncle was serving as an army officer and the Chon Suk-chong's family from the Holy Lord Church had come to the south. So Holy Lord Church is the Kim Son-do Church, first group in Cheolsan. So her physical eldest son was moving to south and living in South Korea. So this itself is also great hope because they are same group or they are same church. Temonim and grandmother, Chobomo grandmother and Kim Son-do's family. That's why this meeting itself is also a great hope. Finally, they could meet, they could find the second advent again. So this was really the miracle for this Trubada, Temunim, and Chowomo, grandmother. Without doubt, Heavenly Parent prepared a path to protect the one called to serve humankind as the only begotten daughter, the one to whom he would entrust the providence that our physical pilgrimage had reached an oasis. It was time to renew our spiritual pilgrimage. That's why each moment, whenever they see the miracle of heaven, miracle of God, their life and their belief, their connection with God become stronger and stronger and stronger. This our life of faith also same. How much difficult to meet the people without any kind of communication method, but God guided the people and they could meet Hon Seung-jeon, uncle, and also they could meet the Chon Suk-chong, son of Kim Son-do, and several meetings will happen by guidance of God. So all the time we could find the Heavenly Parents' guidance. At the moment, Trumada was early childhood age, but she also could have a many kind of experience already under the God's guidance. So how about ourselves when we remind again, and surely we could find some special moment. So yesterday we are also sharing about some special determination in our life. So today also with your inspiration, if you can share some special meeting, kind of this meeting is impossible. Really in so many coincidence, and we could meet this person or we could meet this kind of opportunity. So when you remember or remind your life, surely you have those kind of experience in your life or faith. So if you could share together those kind of coincidence, looks like everything by accident, but everything got guidance. So today we can share together. So today's contents is sharing from the North and South Korea, moving for Julmada and Temonim and grandmother Chobomo, and we could see many kind of God's guidance. So today we will connect ourselves to our Heavenly Parents' message and the Julmada's life, and let's begin today's day. So let's create the great moment today. Let's begin the beautiful and the happiness day. And let's offer the happiness to victory to our Heavenly Parents and true parents. Thank you for joining and thank you for listening. 감사합니다.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend Yutaka. Now let's thank him. Okay. All right, just make sure everyone puts themselves into gallery view. That way you can see everyone, and be good if we can turn on our cameras so that we can see each other more clearly. Yes, so Reverend Yutaka emphasized that if there's situations or things that happened that just fell in place and different coincidences, which really don't happen, but yeah, the way things are planned to meet. I had this experience with a Japanese IW when I first joined in Scotland back in the 80s, and this IW was sent from Father to help inspire all the members, and he had this. He came to visit every one of us while we were fundraising, and he didn't know where anyone was. He was just told, you know, he would pick a team and was told that team, and usually in the team there was 6 or 7 of us, 6 fundraising, 1 team leader, and then he was just told, we were in Birmingham, he was just told, they just went to this town, and he went to go visit each and every one of us. And during the day, during lunch, I was sitting on a bench, eating my lunch, and this Japanese man, he was a Japanese IW, and he came up and he just sat next to me and started talking. And I thought, oh, who's this? And then he introduced himself as an IW. He didn't ask if I was a member or anything. He just started talking to me as a member, and started explaining that he was sent by Father to encourage all the members. And I was just blown away. I thought, well, you know, I just felt so inspired that he just happened to find us. And I found out later from the other members on the team that he'd turned up where they were fundraising, and just did the same thing, just started talking to them, started sharing about True Father, how Father's love and concern for all the members. And I really was overwhelmed by God's love and guidance, and just awestruck how he could find us, so that I still found it amazing. He would just pray and he would find people, and he was spiritually guided, and he knew he just knew things about us, and he knew how to say the right thing that touched our heart straight away. So I was, still remember that. And also, interestingly enough, years later, I ended up meeting him in Jardim and in Seoul, and he would remember and recant that time in Scotland, where he was just guided by the Spirit. He didn't know himself. He was just told to go down this street, and then he followed directions from Spirit World and found us. I just found that quite amazing. All right, thank you, everyone. Who would like to go first or second, depending on how you see? Yes. Oh, yes, Mary, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to share, in 95, we're in Korea. My parents were with us, and there's 2 short stories. One of them was, I had to take something. We're at near one really busy intersection, and I had to take some item back to a shop. So I asked them to wait in a restaurant. Anyway, I went underground, and I found the place, but then coming back up, like, there's all these like streets and tunnels under the ground, and then I had absolutely no idea which one to come up to find my parents in the restaurant. who were basically 75 years old and had not a clue about soul. And it was just an absolute miracle that God guided me up the right entrance back up onto the street to find that restaurant. There was no way in the world I could have found that restaurant if it wasn't for some sort of guidance to be able to find my parents. But just another really quick story. Because my father was a farmer, I wanted them to see some farmland in Korea. So I asked somebody where we should go. So we ended up getting on a train going north. And then we came to this, the train station, and there was a bus station there. And anyway, I was trying to talk to the people, but nobody could speak any English and I couldn't speak any Korean. So we ended up on this bus, and we ended up at the building where they meet, connected to North and South Korea. Anyway, the bus continued over a bridge, and then there was a checkpoint, and a Korean soldier got on the bus and was telling us we needed to get off the bus, but we didn't speak any Korean. So we ended up, and then an American soldier got on the bus, and he wanted to see our passports. So once he saw our passport, he told us to go ahead. So we went we went into the DMZ area, but the bus drove around this area and there was a military base in there. So anyway, I just thought it was then coming back, the Korean soldier got back on the bus and he was really quite unhappy. And he was talking to us, but the bus driver was just pleading ignorance because he didn't speak any English either. But anyway, then what happened? The Korean soldier saw this chewing gum on the sole of my mother's shoe, and he actually pulled it off, took it off the shoe, and it, you know how it just stretched out. It just stretched out the whole way. It was just such an incredible moment. And then we went back across the bridge and I went to take a picture, and the Korean lady from behind me grabbed me and said, "You can't take photos here." So I'm not exactly sure where we were, but that was our experience on at the DMZ. So yeah, when we're talking about Mother being at the 38th parallel, it sort of reminded me of that experience. So anyway.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Beautiful DMZ.
Randall, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, that's right. I have an experience of coincidence meetings. There's a few, but one was when I was leading a fundraiser, or helping out with a fundraising team. The second gen with OLT were in Geelong, and so I said, "Oh, I'll drive you around today," and I dropped one off in an area. And he said that his experience was someone came up to him and says, "Are you a Moonie?" And for the second gen, this is their first experience of, getting persecution as a Moonie fundraising. And he was thinking, okay, this is my opportunity to experience the type of persecution that my parents went through. So he said, "Yes, I'm a Moonie." And this guy said, "Oh, that's great. Do you know Randall?" He was an interfaith contact of mine from, that had known me for many years. He'd actually been to Korea and actually been to our church headquarters. And he was saying, "Oh, that's really good," So anyway, he was feeling that I stole indemnity. Second gen was feeling that I stole indemnity from him by having a good contacts there around Geelong. Another time I was in Korea and I was on the train, and a Buddhist leader was trying, saw me and, thought he'd be nice and kind and start speaking English to me. And he said, "Why are you here in Korea?" And I said, "Oh, it's the second anniversary of Reverend's ascension." He said, "Oh, once I'm young, right? Oh, you've heard about him?" He says, "Yes." "Have you read his book?" And he said, "No." And so anyway, I started talking, but my voice carried through the whole train, through the whole carriage. And there were no other conversations going on. Everyone was basically just listening to me and says, you know, if you have a problem with Reverend Moon, just take away the name Reverend Moon, take away the name Moon Sam Young, and just look at the things that he did. If the only thing he ever did was, and then I started going through, you know, the media, that he set up newspapers in Korea, Japan, Washington, New York, the Middle East. Or if the only thing he ever did was, you know, and I started going through all these different things of, you know, business and, you know, Little Angels and, you know, the business with Ilfa, setting up the football team that helped Korea get into the World Cup and things like this. And I said, if that's the only thing he ever did, every Korean should want to read about him. But the problem was there were two things that he did that earned him enemies. One was he was against communism. And so I said this, and so basically everyone thinks, okay, well, you know, I'm against referendum. So what are the things? And they were thinking, well, I'm not communist. And the second thing that he did was he tried to teach young people about God. And that's, you know, a reason why people were against him at different times. But, you know, now they're saying, okay. But apart from that, every Korean should want to read about it. So because of this Buddhist leader, I was able to basically give a street witnessing to the whole train.
Okay, thanks, Randall. Yes, Chuniko, go ahead.
I just long time in history. 1986, before we come to Australia, at that time with Rexon together, we were went to Korea, and that time I was invited to at that time was Sekai Nippo leader. Then we together went to Korea, but at that time, of course, we are guiding, but coincidentally, we chasing to where the father is, and we go taxi driver or something, and then going to in the mountain, and there was a meeting, father hearts meeting with all Korean members, but inside mountain, but we chasing, and finally stopped taxi, and you know, sort of was we not expected to see father, but finally chasing to opportunity to see the father, a mother, and at that time we, you know, sort of meeting them. We're not expecting, but sort of a chance to, we're chasing all the time to wherever we go and see, yeah, chance to meet to parent, and also Chompadon Church. Also, we are sightseeing, and yeah, we remember that first church and to connect with history. Yeah, that's good memory. We remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't know what's to do.
Yeah, who we got? Reiko's there. Go ahead.
Yeah, John, I just add Tsuneko-san's testimony. That's I think first public speech after True Father was released from Danbury, and so we are introduced. We have I don't know, 6 or 7 Japanese sisters introduced. They are missionaries going to mission country. So we went in front of 2 parents. They are sitting and eating that time. So he asked each one of us which country we are going. So we report we are going to Australia. And he gave each one of us the flower. I think it's a rose. And he encouraged us, do your best. So it was a beautiful, memory for each one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Reiko. Yes. Yes, Arnold, go ahead. I need to unmute yourself. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I was just reflecting about the Hondoke, and one thing that came up to me, I just reflect on the Dr. Young's message. Always he talked about the yearning heart. Yeah, so when I listened to Reverend Yutaka shared about true mother and grandmother and mother, they try to find a brother and the uncle. I just reflect that Dr. Young always mentioned if we have like a yearning heart, then absolutely we can, get something. Also along that line, also I was thinking of like Abraham and Isaac's story, like when they were at the 38 parallel, and the South Korean soldiers were there, and it really a miracle that they could able to like convince the soldiers because of Truma's song. And so I was just reflecting like they really have a strong determination and courage to just move forward despite of the challenge that they might get shot or something, but they have that courage to go on. God really protect them and guide them through. So yeah, I think that's my inspiration from Hondoke. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold. Actually, we're back at time now to offer our unison prayer. So I'll just share the screen and we can pray together. One moment. Okay, let's begin. Jew. Thank you, everyone, and
Thank you.
have a great day, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
God bless. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. God bless.
Bye.
Please.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Na, today.
Everybody.
Nice prayer.
Bye-bye.